Mr. Mark Donfried, Your Excellency, Ambassador of Egypt, dear friends, I came to play here to commemorate everyone who died because of this war. These words, pronounced by Rostropovich, resonate forever in us to say how much strong in symbolism, heavy in meaning, deep and dense in history, marked the course of history and constituted a real turning point. Its particularity is the unprecedented consensus created around its realization and found around its foundations, its motivations, and the hopes it created. At the level of Germany, it made it possible to correct historical anomalies by ensuring the reason of the Union and by rejecting division. It enabled the German people to regain its reunification, just as it enabled Germany to recover its territorial integrity. At the level of Europe, it founded the motivation of people to regain their freedom to choose, to circulate, and to emancipate themselves. It has created an acceleration of history since Europe has moved towards a greater institution with the Treaty of Maastricht, the creation of the European Union and the Eurozone. At the global level, this fall of the Berlin Wall marked the end of the bipolar system which governed the world, and there was no continent, no region, no country, or even no political system has been able to avoid this change to maintain its existence and develop its vision of the world. It has created a real restart. For Morocco, the impact of this fall concerned two aspects, in terms of neighborhood with Europe and in terms of internal dynamics in the kingdom. In terms of neighborhood, this fall resulted in the launch by Europe of a new renovated European policy, what we call the Mediterranean Neighborhood Policy, which has enabled the establishment of a free trade area and to which Morocco was among the first countries to be concerned since it was linked to Europe by a cooperation agreement. In this new generation of free trade, political dialogue with Morocco has been consecrated, in particular through the creation of a common space around the triptych peace and security, shared prosperity, understanding other people. In terms of internal dynamics, like other third world countries, both in the Arab world and in Africa, the one-party movement has given way to multipartism by ensuring the principle of democracy. For Morocco, this new principle has been consecrated since its independence through the organization of elections and the political participation of women. But this fall made it possible to give an acceleration of this movement and a revision of the internal policy of the kingdom with the evaluation of the question of human rights, in particular through the creation of the National Council of Human Rights, as it allowed the revision of the Constitution to enshrine this new dynamic. In the spirit of fall of the Berlin Wall and the dynamics of the end of the Cold War, the question of recovering the territorial integrity of Morocco has been put back at the center of the international agenda. This resulted in the end of the actions. This resulted in the conclusion of a ceasefire, as well as the prospect of the definitive solution to this artificial conflict. Moreover, and since then, Morocco has continued to work for the peaceful settlement of this issue, and the autonomy plan it presented in 2007 is perfectly in line with the spirit and pleads in favor of a peaceful settlement of this very artificial conflict inherited from the Cold War. This autonomy plan has been also consecrated by the international community and the UN as a serious and credible effort by Morocco to resolve this artificial conflict through negotiation and political dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, 33 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, what are the conclusions or lessons that we can learn? First and foremost, that freedom is never taken for granted, and that its preservation requires sustained and constant efforts. Secondly, the end of a bipolar USSR, USA, world not only allowed the passage to a multipolar world, but above all, consecrated the emergence of universal values around peace, security, and human rights. Thirdly, wars have changed their format. They are no longer the exclusive prerogative of states. Terrorism, mercenaries, private militias have been then able to create instabilities and chaos. Fourthly, no state in the world is today spared from the risk of war, and Ukraine is a cruel reminder of this. Ladies and gentlemen, faced with such facts, what can we do, you may ask? It seems imperative to return to the fundamentals that are the respect of international law, as well the territorial integrity of countries. In this sense, it seems just as imperative to strengthen the multilateralism, especially the UN, which is currently suffering. And the responsibility of the states in this regard is fully engaged. In the same way, it seems important to carry out coherent and assumed actions. In fact, disturbing states and destabilizing forces are nourished by double language and double standards. Finally, it is also important not to isolate ourselves, but on the opposite, to unite. And only a constant and honest dialogue can overcome the negative prejudices that have been established and that have somehow widened the gap between the North and South. And in this regard, and from my country's point of view, Europe would gain by turning more towards the countries of the South and by engaging in an ambitious European neighborhood policy. Thank you. I just also wanted to tell you that since you are in this Institute of Cultural Diplomacy, this is, for me, cultural diplomacy is the key word. Of course, I performed at UNESCO, and I was also the 39th General President of UNESCO conference, and I know the power of the cultural diplomacy. So diplomacy is not, your cultural diplomacy is not only resolving conflicts. It's, of course, it's soft power, but it's also preventing, because it creates the fora for dialogue and much understanding of the others. And what you are doing now is really and very important, because you are establishing bridges between countries which are from different cultural identities. And that is what war are about, not understanding the others. And thank you. And unfortunately, I have to run because I'm out of time. But please don't hesitate to address to us any kind of questions. And it will be my pleasure to meet you either at the embassy or here again in the Institute. And thank you for your listening. Thank you very much.